4, 3, 2, 1.
What we're going to do is we're going to jump straight into the app. Now, I'm not going to go into every specific detail, but I am going to go into the main settings menu and run through that with you. Now, if you've not done so already, click connect your aircraft. Make sure your device, both the controller and the drone, is switched on. Select your model and then go from there. Otherwise, if you've already done this before, just connect your controller, and then you should see that it'll start transferring some battery power from the controller to your phone, and then it'll take you straight to the Go Fly. Now what we'll do is we'll click straight on the Go Fly, and we're welcomed with the screen. Now I am indoors today, so what I'll do is I'll just boost up the UV, and you can see that I've got the Fly More box in front of my drone. I'm just going to lock that exposure by clicking the AE button down there, so we won't get any variance. Now, the background of the screen is not going to be very important to you whilst we're going through the main settings. We will go into our settings, which is the 3 dots on the top right hand side of the screen. The first tab that we have is safety. Now, max altitude is set 120 meters, which is 400 feet. Now, that is the limit of what you can fly in the United Kingdom according to the CAA. However, your distance should also be within line of sight. Now, the return to home altitude is normally set at 30 meters. I like having a little bit more headroom, and I also like taking some footage as the drone is coming back down towards me. Update the home point. Now, whilst you're mid-flight and you want to change this, you can just click on the button, select where you'd like it to do, and set it for the new home point. Now, if you've just switched on your drone, it's the first time using it in this session, then it will automatically update your home point once you're up in the air. Next down is our flight assistance. Now, I've got obstacle detection and the APAS both on. Please note the sensors are only on the front, back and bottom. There are no side or top sensors, so really bear that in mind if you're flowing under trees or under growth. And below that we have the sensors where we can calibrate our compass. And then we've got the auxiliary LED. Quite often at night, if I want to see where I'm landing, I'll just flick that on. Now, the LED is a nice big bright LED based at the bottom of the drone, close to the sensors. Find My Drone, it is a great feature. If you do happen to lose sight of your aircraft, then you can click on that. It will give you a GPS map location, and then you can also make it flash and make beeping sounds as well to help you once you're closer. Now, the advanced safety settings. So if your signal is ever lost between the drone, you have 3 options: either return to home, descend, or hover. So I tend to leave this on return to home just because that is my preference on the majority of my flights. However, I do change that depending on my location and what I'm doing. Now we come to emergency propeller stop. Now, leave this on emergency only. I can't stress that enough, because if you switch this over to any time, then if you accidentally push both your controllers, as you can see in the left hand image, it will then just cut out your propellers, and that will make it come flying down to the ground like a lead weight, which we don't want. So leave that in emergency only. As you can see on the left hand image, that is an alternative way to get your motors on your drone started if you don't want to use the automatic takeoff function. So we'll come out of that, and then we'll go to the control tab. Now you can select what units you like. Now, gimbal mode, you can either set this where the gimbal will follow and move and keep itself level, or you can go to the FPV mode where it will follow the movement of the aircraft. I allow my upward gimbal rotation just because it gives me that much more flexibility when I'm flying with where I want my gimbal positioned for my shot. You can then obviously click the recenter gimbal. One click will make it point down to the ground, second click will bring it back to the center. And here you can change under stick mode. You can choose 3 different modes of your flying. Now, the most common is mode 2, and that's what it comes preset on. However, if you really like to mix things up, you can move over to a custom mode and design and change the buttons yourself. And there you can see you can just drop and drag the operations as you see fit. So we'll come back out of that, and now we're at button customization. Now there did used to be 3 options for this, but there seem to be only 2 following an update, and that would be auxiliary LED or the recenter gimbal. Select which one you want. Obviously I'm going to have that one as my auxiliary LED. I tend to use that slightly more than recentering my gimbal. You can then calibrate your remote control, and you've also got some flight tutorials under there. I'm going to miss the camera section for a moment because we'll come back to that. We'll have a very quick look at transmission. I can't say I've ever had any issues with my transmission. I leave mine on HD and I leave it on dual band. That way it gives it the options to move around. Now the about, there's a couple of really important things to do on here. Now before I set off, and I know I'm going to have a decent amount of shooting, I will always check for updates before I leave. That way I can top up any battery power. I mean, I've seen files as large as ½ GB in the updates, and I'm sure there have probably been higher ones than that before mine. And they're also worth making sure that your FlySafe database is updated. Now the one last thing that I really like about this section is when we go to the battery times charged. Now if you're ever buying second-hand batteries and you don't believe that it is new, or you don't believe that the description quite matches the use that it might have had, then you can go and plug that in and it will give you a count that is done. Now this battery is actually brand new. I only got the Fly More pack 2 weeks ago now, but it's really worth investing on that pack rather than just going for the standalone drone, is my opinion. So that'll take us back to the last tab, which is the camera settings. Now, as we did before we moved into here, we made sure that the camera was actually set on camera mode. Now this tells us that we're in photo mode, and this gives us the options for photos. Now if you wanted the options for movies, we would go back out, we would change this to video, go back into settings, and here we have the settings for the video. Now this will also be for the hyperlapse and a couple of the other functions as well, so just go in, change that, play around with it, see what you like. Now I'll stick on the video format for the moment. I select MP4, it's a more widely used format than MOV, and I go to Decine-alike because I do sometimes like to go in and colour grade my footage afterwards. Now if your computer can handle the processing of H.2.65 and you've got the codecs, I would suggest going for that. It just gives you a crisper image, just better overall processing. Anti-flicker I leave to auto. My histogram is this thing on the side, on the left hand side, that we can see that I'm moving around. It's basically like a light meter in a way. I'll go back into there. We've got overexposure warning, which is the black and white lines in the background. Obviously if I brought my exposure down, then that would remove the black and white lines. I've got the option to auto sync the HD photos to my phone, so whenever it takes HD photo it will also save a copy of that to my phone, saves you having to transfer it over later on. And grid lines, you can have all 3 options activated if you wish. I tend to go for the rule of thirds. Then we move on to white balance. Now depending on what day it is, cloud cover, all affects things like white balance. Now I do often play with this manually, but it is very much location specific. So I'll just pop that onto auto for now. And here we have the options to format the SD card or the internal storage. I've currently got a 64 GB card installed in there that gives me the 59.4 available storage. Now that'll give me hours worth, just over worth of 4K shooting. Now I normally have my 128 GB or my 256 GB micro SD card in there, and what I'll do is, depending on what size card I've got in there, I will adjust my max video cache capacity. Now you're quite happy to leave this on auto, but generally if I'm using my larger cards I'll have it at 16, or on my lower cards such as this I leave it at 8. And then we have the options, as we said, to format. So click format, and that will give us the option of either internal storage or SD card. Now let's say we want to format the SD card, select that, click format, and you can see in the background formatting, and then formatting successful. So the storage options and the general options are always on the camera tab. Now it only changes, as I said earlier, if we change the settings on which style we would like to shoot in either photo or video. If we go into the photo, the camera options will provide us with are options for the camera. So we can either shoot JPEG or JPEG and RAW. RAW just allows you to just get that bit more detail out of an image later on, and you can either shoot in 4/3 or 16:9. So for now, that's pretty much all the controls under the main setting tabs. I will do another video running around the outside the screen and all the functions within there, but for now I hope you've enjoyed the video, and we'll catch you again soon.